validated by outside chatter, which is called dogma. And so when you get in a relationship, you're only showing up with the parts of you that you believe are lovable. But the parts of you that are not lovable, you compartmentalize.
Well, that's why sometimes, I mean, we have an adult conversation. That's why sometimes people.
Who I am.
But it's just like, if it's not all of the things, then you're doing yourself and you're doing your partner a disservice.
Yeah.
Even if you're married to the day that you die, you still have done yourself and the other person a disservice.
By not experiencing who you fully are.
Yeah, and just not letting all of it be consistent every single day.
Yeah.
We all deserve that. Because even, you know, as a Christian, I can show up a certain way and all these things are true.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys once more again about Meagan Good and Dr. Bryant, because I think they were saying the exact same thing. It is not easy to be your authentic self, especially if you've always lived a life of inauthenticity, right? Because you've always had to mold yourself to fit into society or to fit into your own family. Now, I've spoken quite broadly about, I believe that Dr. Bryant is also fearful avoidant and Meagan Good's also fearful avoidant, because their greatest thing is to run. But, you know, just listening to how they both kind of came up to the same point, they're talking about they must love themselves enough to show up authentically. Now, relationships are always going to be sabotaged when you don't show up authentically, especially when it comes to avoidance. And I specifically mention fearful avoidance. Now, if you don't know anything about attachment styles, it's something that was done by John Bowlby, and later on, you know, was upgraded, or should say the work that was built on top of that was Mary Ainsworth. And what they came up with, the idea was how children would attach to their caregiver, okay? And in adult relations, how do you emotionally attach? One of the attachment styles is avoidancy. Those who are afraid of the anxiety and they push away when emotional closeness comes in. Okay, now there's fearful avoidant and dismissive. Dismissive, when there is too much emotional closeness, they push away. When fearful avoidance, they want love, and when they get it, they push away. They go very hot and cold. Now, what's really interesting about this is not showing up authentically is something that an avoidant, whether you're dismissive or fearful, does brilliantly. And in fact, even anxious people do this brilliantly too, because really and truly, it is all about not loving yourself fully. And so when you show up in a relationship, you show up as the representative. You show up as what you believe they feel, you believe that you feel that they need. And so an anxious person will do it too. They'll play a role of servitude, just serving you out of nowhere and just doing so much for you because they believe that if they do that, they'll have some value and you'll see them in a different way. And then you've got avoidance who will maybe show up in the very beginning amazingly and then begin to fall away a little bit later on, because what they are afraid of is emotional closeness and then being committed when they haven't really got all the way in, right? And so what you'll see is with what Meagan Good was kind of saying is that the way she had to show up in a relationship was, even with her relationship with God, she was trying to earn this love. She had to prove that she had to have this love, which is very much in alignment with anxious people as well. And I think this is key, because if you don't show up authentically as you, then how can I love you fully? If you're unwilling to show all sides of you, how can I, quote unquote, love you unconditionally? How can I begin to love you if you don't love you, right? There were parts of me that I don't always accept, which is the truthfulness. I'm starting to learn how to accept that. So I have to be very honest. So I know the difficulty of the journey of trying to get to a place where you now feel like you authentically accept all of you. Because when you accept all of you, that is when you feel your most safest. And we talk about this all the time on this channel. And when I coach people, I talk about this all the time about being emotionally safe. When you feel emotionally safe, you can be your whole self. Being emotionally safe means you're not afraid of taking risks because you're not afraid of what people will say, right? Meagan Good, in another interview with Cam Newton, spoke about this emotional safety aspect of being afraid of what people will say if she's not a mother. Right? That's emotional safety, right? Being in a place where you can share your difficult emotions, and that's a point of emotional safety too. Another aspect is, how do you feel when you're not a part of a belonging? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel alienated? Do you feel angry, hurt, upset? What is it that you feel, right? Are you safe enough to be able to admit those feelings? And so there are many different components when it comes to emotional safety, but it's also understanding that because of these attachment styles and the way that we've grown up, it does affect the way that we live in our adult relationships. And so being somebody who wants to have a healthy relationship, you want a healthy relationship, you're going to have to show up as you fully. And that means there is a chance that you may be rejected. There is a chance you may be abandoned. There is a chance you may be betrayed. And I think that's the greatest fear that most people feel, is that they're afraid that if they show up their true authentic self, rejection, abandonment, and betrayal can all happen. If I show all of me, what if they leave me? Abandonment. What if I show up my whole entire self and then they cheat on me? Betrayal. What if I show my whole entire self and they don't like it? Rejection. And so because we're trying to avoid these moments, we curate a character that we bring to the table. And people will love that character, right? Because that's the parts that you love. And that's the parts that you've been validated on. So you bring it to the table. Fine. But then when we get into a relationship and the person sees all these other sides, and it's like you're afraid to even bring the other side out. But then when it does finally come out, they actually do the very thing that you wished you didn't. They do the very thing that you wish they wouldn't do. The rejection, the abandonment, the betrayal. Okay? So because you didn't actually show that at the very beginning. Now look, betrayal, rejection, and abandonment are always likely results in this world, because human beings don't have to like, don't have to stay, and don't have to be with you, right? But when you choose the right person to do life with, they will actually accept those parts of you that you think are not acceptable. But first, you need to accept it. You need to accept it first, right? That's the main thing. Let's have a bit more listen of Dr. Bryant, what she was saying.
Yeah. Wow. This is the good me, the bad me, because in order for someone to love you unconditionally, they got to see what? Your conditions. And love yourself enough to know that you are worthy and valuable enough to love you through your trauma and help you get through it.
Okay, I love what she said here. Trust that they're gonna love you for those moments where it's love you for those traumatic, right? For the trauma, right? And that's really important. But again, you need to love you. If you don't love you through the trauma, you're making it harder for the other person, because more than likely you've got self-defense mechanisms that don't allow people to see that you don't even love you in your trauma, right? So you're going to do behaviors that are actually going to create more distance in the relationship. Maybe you're an anxious person. You'll cling far too much to that person because you're afraid of them seeing you for who you are. Maybe you're an avoidant, and what you'll realize is the moment that you're feeling any sense of vulnerability, you're going to push them away. And so this is how you end up sabotaging your relationships. And I chose Megan Good because she spoke about this authenticity. She spoke about it in that space, that she felt more authentically her, and that she got to a place where she can now, even in a relationship with God, know that she doesn't have to earn love. She's worthy of love. And I think that's really important. Again, let's listen to what she says.
Parts of me that are very, very in tune with God, but just not as religious, but are more about relationship with Christ. And so now I'm just like, look, this is all of it.
This is what it is.
And I feel God's love more. Because I feel like for a long time, I was living in a way where I had to earn God's love. I'd almost told myself that it was conditional because of my own things, and my own experiences, my own child traumas, or whatever it is.
Which don't you feel like?
Now, that's really powerful, as she goes on to say, listen, she was in a space of thinking that she had to earn it. Most of us do. And most of us misinterpret what the gospel is. We believe that we have to earn the love of Christ. We have to earn his grace and his mercy. But his grace and his mercy are renewed every morning. And you have to understand, it is a gift. Salvation is a gift. It's given unto you for those who believe. Believe it, just accept it's true. And so, as long as you believe in your heart, and confess your mouth, but we can go there another time. What she's explaining is that and they're going to actually go on to speak about it a little bit later on. What she's explaining is that her love and the way that she understood how God loved her transformed. And what that did, it transformed her relationships all around the board. Once she began to understand that she's accepted for who she is, and that no matter what she does, God loves her unconditionally, she began to love herself unconditionally. Then she began to show up unconditionally. And that's where you need to be. In that space. Unconditionally loving yourself. You want unconditional love, but you don't unconditionally love you, which means you're going to conditionally love other people. And of course, unconditionally is within reason, right? But I think that's a really powerful point to enlist on as well, right? I think here, what key parts I would like to just highlight quickly as well is that many of us are fearful of the judgment that people may bring to us. As I said about the past trauma, Megan Good said that. The social constructing and conditioning, men to be stoic and to be hardwired as well, whereas other women are supposed to share. So what if you are the opposite of what society is telling you to be? What if you're a woman and you're more stoic than you are somebody who shares collaboratively with a woman? What if you're a man and you're not stoic and you're more emotional than what they say men should be? Then that's very difficult then to be able to unconditionally love yourself, right? And if there's low self-worth and fear of not being enough, that's also going to affect how you actually show up. Right? And sometimes we are people pleasing. We don't want to cause conflict and cause issues. We try to keep the peace of our behavior. So now you're agreeing to things you don't actually necessarily want to agree to, which is now why you're showing up inauthentically. And now people are like, I thought you wanted that. No. And now you are passively aggressively trying to change the trajectory of the relationship or things that are happening, rather than saying, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. Once more, I'm going to say to you, I must love me enough in order to show up authentically. If I don't, I will more than likely self-sabotage my relationships. Well, guys, my time is up. I want to let you know, if you are somebody who's been affected by this, if it's something that you're going through right now where you're struggling to really be authentic and show up as your true identity and yourself in relationships, then this is going to be a great time to reach out to me. I've still got a few more coaching spots out there as well. Make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing. But if you need some coaching, there's a link down below in the description box. Click on it and get on my coaching roster as well for now. Make sure you're going to like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notifications of the uploads. And don't forget, grow, transform, and heal always. It's important. Much love, much appreciation.